Alright, last one. We're doing an update on Season 33. So that's the previous season. This month I'm playing Centurion. I'll talk about that here. I don't think I'm going to have much interesting to say about Centurion. Last month was Yubel. Like I said before, I played Yubel in the DC Cup too. I will show the difference. I like going for top 10,000. So I got with that with Yubel deck. Like I've said, I just wanted to be able to play like a lower quantity of duels, just because I have less time, which is obviously why I haven't even been bothered to make these like short little videos. So last month we were on this. I'm gonna say this. I don't think this deck list is optimal by any means. I was expecting to change it, but this deck is very powerful as is. Super Poly helps break some boards that you can't break otherwise. Is the only thing I'll say. I was surprised with how pleased I was with it as non-engine. I, however, don't actually think it's that worth running. Mature Chronicles pop effect is actually, like, very relevant. The revive from graveyard and the pop effect, and adding a banished card to your hand. It can add face-down banished cards because it doesn't like specify any specific quality of the card. Can come up against like Cashier in particular. It's just it's very interesting to me. I used every single one of these effects, and I think adding super polymerization from your deck to the hand is by far the weakest of them. Just a side note. Also, this card's definitely like just not worth playing. It's not as bad as I thought it would be. But it's also just like it's not good enough, you know? It's just kind of like that. I kind of like 2 Nightmare Pain. I think if you're playing optimally, there's not enough general back row removal to make it worth it. If you're playing everything else, you know, it's sometimes it'll get banished. If you're on Mature Chronicle, you can get it back, which I had happen. They'd SP this, I'd have Mature Chronicle, and I'd be like, yeah, whatever, I get Nightmare Pain back. I don't even have to search it. Spirit Gates can get it out of the graveyard, which is like more likely to happen. Destruction's pretty common, but it's not uncommon for it to get hit by SP. I think running 2 is fine. For engine, obviously 3 Samsara. I was running 2. There was a point where I was running 3, and I forget what I wanted to put in the deck. We're just using Maxi, Ash, Imperm, and Super Poly as like our cards, like our non-engine. And I think you can cut a few cards to make room for 3 more. In particular, Mature Chronicle and Eternal Favorite are very, very cuttable. And I'd probably cut another Spirit of Yubel, or a Nightmare Pain, if you want to add like 3 more hand traps from this list that I have up on screen. I don't think this list is optimal, like I said before, but I pulled a Royal the Loving Defender, and I wanted to be able to use it. This card is hilariously good against the mirror match if they use their Phantom. Because you just get to Super Poly their entire board from there. And people usually summon the Yubel. They'll usually destroy a spirit and summon a Yubel. And then you get to just, like, laugh really hard as you just get to Super Poly the entire board away. I don't think I have too much to say. I believe Gates is getting hit to 2 on this list. Phantom of Yubel. I was already on 2. I wasn't playing a 3rd just because I didn't have a 3rd. So that worked out. I don't think you need 3, actually. I think 2 is like the big number you need, and the 3rd one can be like a nice little flex spot. The Typhon, I'm not gonna lie, Typhon kind of sucks. But this is the deck I think Typhon is the most likely to suck the least in. I think, what's another one? Like Sky Striker might be okay in. Just the problem is, like, Typhon, like, if you make Typhon early enough to, like, deal with big negate monsters, you can't play the game after that. It locks you out of playing the game after that. I don't know why they put that restriction on this card. Because, like, it just brings you to a dead halt. And I don't know why they decided that was necessary, because I think going second is enough of a debuff that you don't need to be like, hey, you can use, like, a low attack monster, get, like, a bounce and, like, stop a bunch of their big guys from affecting you. Like, I don't understand why that's actually a problem. If the game was different, I think it would make sense for you to not be able to normal special summon monsters for the rest of the turn. I have had this card come up in Centurion. I've had it actually help me, but usually it's like, you're just in a corner, you can't do anything, and you make Typhon. And then you can't do anything, because you made Typhon. I don't know, I don't like the design of this. I like the design of the card in a world where the end boards were less good. Where, like, you could, like, partially play into an end board and have something you could keep on your field somehow. But I don't understand how you do that, because this card is supposed to help you break the field, except it can only do that by stopping you from being able to do anything else afterwards, and it doesn't interact on your opponent's turn. I think if it were a quick effect to return a monster from field to hand, then I would understand why it locks you, but this is not a quick effect. But sorry, I just wanted to complain about Typhon. I think Typhon is way overbalanced. I think they could literally release Typhon 2 that just didn't lock you, and then that would actually... I still don't think that would be a mandatory include, but I think that would be a great balancing tool for going second, to give you, like, something strong that, like, demands an answer that's, like, basically, like, free, you know? For the tools you get going... like, when you go first, you get something like, Baron de Fleur. Like, this doesn't lock you out of making more summons. Like, what the frick? Why does this lock me out of summoning more when I go first, I can do this, pop something, or, even something like, the Bestial Dissipator. Like, going first, you can make this, you can special summon something from your banished zone. And I get that these are more specific than Typhon is by going over anything. But here we are. Okay, I just wanted to complain about Typhon. Because Typhon feels like a card that I like the design of, and I want to talk about how, like, cool it is and how it gets you out of some situations you couldn't get out of anyways. But you can't. Like, it's always just the last thing you do in a turn where you couldn't really do much. And then you go, oh, I can get rid of 2 monsters before my opponent full combos me again and then wins the game immediately. I think this card is very cuttable, if that's not clear. Like I said in the main deck, Mature Chronicle, Eternal Favorite, these 2 cards, definitely not optimal. Those would be the first 2 cards I would cut from this deck. I could see, hypothetically, keeping Eternal Favorite in as, like, a Super Poly sort of thing. I liked Super Poly itself. I'm not gonna lie, I liked having it available to me. I don't think it's optimal, but I really like Super Poly. Everything else is pretty straightforward. I'm sure you're familiar with Yubel. We have the extra deck spaces for Super Poly targets that are real. I usually made these. Loving Defender, it does not come up frequently unless you're already winning and you force it really hard. Which is, like, fine. El Mirage, I think is a really good include. Cross Sheep just gives you a free body. Soul of Rage is obviously splashing the Unchained package. And I don't think it's worth it to not play the Unchained package. I think the Unchained package is way too good to not play. You usually make SP off of your Soul of Rage. Sometimes I think Unicorn was worth it for me to make. I was happy with that. I ended up adding Unchained Soul of Anguish. Not because I think it's particularly incredible to go into, but just because sometimes it'd be like, oh, I want Escape of the Unchained. The other reason why this is all really good is because Escape of the Unchained... So, like, a lot of people will do the Ibly line. And I don't think the Ibly line is worth it. because you should be winning anyways if you play well. I got evenly matched a bunch of times, and I think that's one of the biggest strengths of the Ibli line, is that you are immune to evenly matched. And you just, like, Escape of the Unchained, you pop Soul of Rage, and you pop Phantom of Yubel. You summon back the Soul of Rage, you still have your, like, 3 or 4 material Appaloosa, and access to an SP Little Knight, and your opponent's down a card. And if they use any hand traps, it's even worse for them. I have not been impressed with evenly matched against this deck. And like, it's just like, they'd resolve it. I'm playing this, I'd have it word banished, like, a Nightmare Pain, an Eternal Favorite, the Field Spell. Like, they would hit, like, I'd have 5 back row, a Field Spell, 3 monsters on board, and then evenly down, and I still have, like, Apo and Unchained, and it's, like, still enough, and I, like, have follow-up for next turn still anyways. I don't think, if you weren't playing the Escape of the Unchained, I think evenly matched would actually be strong here, but I just don't think it's good enough. Just having Yama and Grave is too crazy. I've seen some people play 2 Yama. I didn't, because I wanted to make room for, like, Super Poly stuff, and I wanted to try the Typhon. But yeah, I liked this deck. I optimized it a bit. Like, this was one of the easier climbs I had. I didn't keep track of my win rate, but it was pretty easy. I played this in the Duelist Cup, and when I started playing it in the Duelist Cup, that's when I started to, I changed a bunch of the cards in here. I added in a 1-for-1. I just wanted another starter that wasn't a normal summon. I cut down to 1 Gruesome Gravesformer. That's a card you can cut down on, because I wanted more hand traps. You can see I've added an Effect Veiler here. I added, where is he? The Chaos Summoning Beast, where if you go Spirit Gates into Dark Beckoning Beast and then Chaos Summoning Beast, that lets you have a Yama line. It lets you end on Rage plus Escape of the Unchained. Which I think is, like, a good... being able to have that payoff if you only have opening up the Spirit Gates as a starter is just worth it. It does take a discard, but that's not too big of a deal. We've cut down to 2 Spirit of Yubel in this list, just to make a little more room. Like I said, we have 3 Veiler, 3 Maxi, 3 Ash, 3 Imperm in Super Poly. So I was just making room for more non-engine and an extra starter in 1-for-1. And I cut down to 1 Nightmare Pain. I found this to be a bit more efficient. I put in a Muckracker. I don't really remember it coming up. I cut the Unchained guy because I wanted to make Zealantis. And I can't remember this coming up either. But this is what I ended on. I feel like a lot of the extra deck cards right now are a bit situational and malleable in terms of what you want to play exactly. But I found this list to be better, which I suspect is because you have more hand traps. If they max see you, you're much more likely to be able to, like, I don't know, set Super Poly, have, like, Ash Veiler in hand or something pass is much more likely than it was before. Your deck already kind of forces them to, like, max you early because the threat of Phantom Yubel is always, like, looming over their head. But yeah, I think this deck is more streamlined and less, like, a slightly less fun version to play just because we literally removed engine cards that I think are fun in order to make the deck more efficient at interrupting our opponent when they're going first. Which I think is more effective, but also just kind of, you know, it's just not as fun to play the cards you put in your deck. But yeah. I think I put in the Zealantis so I could put it over Appaloosa, just for like 2,500 extra damage. But I don't think that ever came up. I think I usually ended up just linking off Appo for an Axis Code Talker. in those situations, because it was like, oh, I exhausted all for negates. Yeah, this deck is really strong and resilient. I expect it to still be good, because there's, what is it, Piri-Res? Gosh freaking darn it. This one. Yeah, I think this isn't, I think Piri-Res map can add the consistency that you lost from the ban list, and I don't think 2 Phantom of Yubel is actually that big of a deal. I do think it is a hit. I do think you should be playing 3. I pulled 2, and I was like, yeah, you don't really need a 3rd, and you don't really need a 3rd, actually. But yeah, that was what I used to climb. That's what I used in DC Cup. I did a lot of winning with this. There were some games that went less well, but like, I found the Yubel deck to be very effective. I don't have anything very interesting to say. I think the hits on the ban list, you can't do the Ibley line anymore, but I think that's basically irrelevant. I feel like that was just a good way to get like faster games. The Phantom Yubel is a hit. Dark Beckoning Beast and Opening of the Spirit Gates are hits, but I just think the difference between Piri-Res map and opening those directly is small enough that it just isn't actually that important to the deck's consistency. Like, literally, like, ban list. Bam. There you go. That's the ban list. That's how it affected you. You have the, it is relevant for, like, Droll, I suppose. But you already were, like, coin flipping how good Droll was against you at any given point in time. Or I guess you could try putting more non-engine, but I feel like it's worth it to add more starters. Alright. That's it for this one. Later! Excuse me. Later.